Ayo, ladies and gentlemen, fellas, welcome into the opening bell for today's. Well, we're going to be getting a little bit of a smaller slate, 7 games though, still a big slate, bigger than usual. So a bigger slate than usual is what you're getting on a Tuesday. Normally we have like 5-6 game slates, but due to a lot of these cancellations, a lot of that's going to be added up on the second half. But I see some people hopping into the chat. How you doing? So what we're going to be breaking down today on the opening bell, the second ever opening bell. And next week, hopefully, if all things go as planned behind the scenes, we'll be having a co-host on here, somebody that I'm sure a lot of people know out there. So something that I'll be looking forward to. So how you doing? See Ant888 in the chat. Zay is in the chat. Fellas, ladies, what's up? How's it going? Yeah, so this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be breaking it down. The jock market tonight, if you're not familiar, it closes Daily Fantasy Sports, Stock Exchange, mashing them together. Biggest bang since the Big Bang itself. It closes at 7:30. So it's closing half hour after like DraftKings and some other sites are locking. So it gives you time to actually get some shares of players. Now, the technicality piece of that is it actually closes between 7:25 and 7:30. So if you're just new to the platform, that's a tip for you. So I have it up on my phone right now. I'm going to start to buy shares of players in a second, but you can start to see the prices. So right here by my head, if you're watching this, the fair value is where basically when they start to hit that price, given this slate, and if you're overpaying for it at that point, if you're paying a little bit more. So Giannis's fair value is $12.67. You can see that his current price. So this is the current price that he is right now. Again, the market closes between 7:25 and 7:30, and then this is what his fair value would be. Basically, that's like his break-even point, if you will. So we can keep refreshing this, especially as those final hot couple of minutes and 20 minutes or so get going. But yeah, we want to look for value. We want to look for overall upside. And any questions that you have on the jock market in general for this specific slate, drop them in the chat. We'll feed off of the Q&A in the chat as well. But what you have right here is a very interesting concept and something that on this slate is wild. Because if you want to look at it, my personal projections for this slate right now, if I pull them up for guys that are just going to be projecting out for a lot of points, and you have guys like Russell Westbrook, who on other sites might look great, but it's not going to look as good. It's not going to look as good when you're looking at things, let's just say, like jock market, because you actually lose points from his shot, so inefficient shooters. But my overall right now is going to be Giannis, Harden. Like these are the guys on the slate today. Giannis, Harden. Well, Harden's going to be starting some of these a little bit earlier. You're going to be getting guys like Nikola Jokic, right? You're going to be getting guys like Damian Lillard. You're going to be getting guys like Westbrook up there, right? So Joel Embiid, right? These later start games. So you're going to be having a lot of guys in the market tonight. You can see them all right here. Even Karl Anthony Towns coming off of his best game of the year by far at this point. So this is something that's very interesting and very appealing to be watching because there's so many studs in the slate. And at the end of the day, you want to try and have that top end score, but there's a lot of value in the NBA in that middle range, of guys where we can start to hunt that value. Guys like Enes Kanter, as of right now, with 20 minutes left in the market, these prices are all going to come up, right? Everybody's not going to be just a buck, right? So we have to kind of wait and see a little bit as it goes on. But Enes Kanter, this range down here of like a Tobias Harris, if you're looking at some sort of injury news right now, Seth Curry was just ruled out at 7 o'clock. How does that impact this slate? Well, guys like Shake Milton, depending on who's in the starting lineup, but Shake Milton, Danny Green can take a nice bump up. Whoever gets put in that starting lineup, Korkmaz can take a bump up. So these are some players that can potentially be impacted in the market based on that news. And I'm sure we'll have even more news as we have a bunch of games starting right at the market's lock today. So I'm pretty excited about that. A lot of stuff going on right now. We have Smokey in the chat. He says, Sal, my dude, just showing some love here. He's a people's champ. Just listen to this, man. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Welcome in here. Zay, welcome in. What's good with the Top Shot moments? What's going on, man? Ant says, fellas. How y'all doing? Yeah, so who's playing in the market tonight? The people that are in the chat right now, let me know. But I think it's very interesting to try and find these gems, if you will, in the mid-range. I'm sure as I say them on the screen, it won't do me any benefits in terms of trying to get a value price on them. But as we start to dive deeper into this jock market, again, Daily Fantasy Sports Stock Exchange, there's the links in the description below if you want to test it out. It's free. You can download the app. They have free games you can play in. And then if you want to play in the cash market, upon your first deposit, they'll give you $20 to play with if you use the code SAL20, SAL20. Is the opening bell on Tuesday nights, 7 p.m. And then, the second half of the season, they're going to have different schedules, so we might have to change it then. But right now up top, so you're seeing these guys up top. So yeah, if the price points don't change on guys like Luka without Porzingis, so keep that in mind. Porzingis and Maxi Kleber are out for Dallas today. So with that for Luka, yeah, it's going to be a situation where his price point's $452. That's clearly going to change, but he's going to be somebody that I hop on right now. So I'm going to put in some. So he's already up to 28 in the market. We're probably going to have to do a refresh here. So let's get the table to reload on my end. We're going to have to do a refresh of the market, but this is something that is going to be highly appealing, right? I'm starting tomorrow, but I'm getting this info tonight in the jock market. Nice. Happy to hear that, JB. Happy to hear that. Let me grab some of this dashboard information that I'm going to need to refresh the market. I thought the market would refresh automatically, but we can just refresh it manually here. Takes 2 seconds. So let's refresh it here, and let's see what's happening to some of these price points now. So you can see that Luka, these guys are starting to grow in price points. The fair value is now starting to rise on some of these players as well as you get more news that's coming in, more projection changes based on some guys being out. So you can see that Luka's fair value is still pretty interesting. So up here towards the top of these guys, Giannis continues to just dominate, right? So when Drew Holiday is out of the rotation, you're seeing Giannis just absolutely dominate to this point. So Drew Holiday is somebody that has been a great player, a great two-way guard with the Pelicans for a long time, some other teams as well, the 76ers back in the past, but what you're seeing this year, Giannis goes from being like a 1.62 fantasy point per minute producer to almost a 1.75 without Drew Holiday on the court. And it's not so much as Holiday. Holiday's great, fantasy point per minute producer a little bit more. But it's more so that Drew Holiday off the court, you're replacing him with a Bryn Forbes, a DJ Augustine, who I actually like DJ Augustine, but it's not the same type of producer, and that's leaving a void in assist percentage. That's leaving a void in Drew Holiday's actually a decent rebounding guard when guys like Bryn Forbes are not. So it's giving this extra bump to Giannis, so he deserves to be the highest priced guy if he sells as that MVP candidate, maybe even a front runner right now in Joel Embiid on this slate. So there's going to be a lot of guys. So I'm actually going to go in here right now, and I'm going to put my first shares in. Let's get ourselves 4 shares of Luka. I'll set my price. I won't tell you people out there so you can't steal the price. I'm sure it'll get over that, though. So we'll see how the market ends up reacting there. One love, get them Dollarooskies. Yes. Got the free money bonus thanks to my man Sal. Night off, let's try this shit out, says Ian. Ian Laura in the chat, he's going to be trying this shit out. He's trying Jock Market out tonight. Get the free money bonus. Yeah. Use that code Sal20. So let's look into some of these mid-range options as we scroll through here. So some of these mid-range options that are going to stand out based on my last update a couple of seconds ago is, so Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown looks good all around. So Jaylen Brown, like if you're looking at like just the East right now in terms of like a guys who are going to be potentially going into an all-star game, it's going to be between like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. And there's an argument with Tatum being out that Jaylen Brown deserves it. Jaylen Brown, if he stays at this low price point and is Cantor at $1.11 right now, that's clearly going to change. Cantor, if you're looking at his last couple of games, you might be worried about the matchup today. I'm not. Cantor can leave the paint. They have no other size to be competing with Nikola Jokic. And if you want to look at the last couple of games, yesterday Cantor, they're on the second night of a back-to-back. Cantor was only able to play, so we can scroll to see some of his minutes. You can see right here the current price point on Enes Kanter as I zoom in. Enes Kanter is only $1.11 right now in the market. His fair value is $6.31. This is going to change as we get closer, but we're 15 minutes away from potentially the bell closing. So Kanter, I'm probably going to go get some shares of. He only played 3 quarters yesterday. Played 28 minutes, checks back out, and then the game absolutely blows out, right? He can't check back in. They're on some different runs, and he's just not going to play. Plays 28 minutes through 3 quarters, is actually playing pretty well for you. So he's somebody that I want to look for a man on the lower end here. I want to look for where we have in the market Mr. Will Barton. So you can see Will Barton down here right now. Another guy who lost minutes, and he averaged over a fantasy point per minute. There's so many bodies out there right now that I'm going to give Will Barton on my end as a pretty decent projection. Somebody that if he actually is going to be going down here as the 54th overall play in the slate, I currently have Will Barton projecting out just pure projection-wise as a top 45 pure projection player right now. So Will Barton is somebody else that I like in this chat. Sal, who do you like with no TLC, no Durant, and possibly no Green? You know, Jeff Green's already ruled out. So Jeff Green is already ruled out. So if you have not checked the most updated news for Brooklyn, Jeff Green has been ruled out. TLC is out. Durant is still out. DeAndre Jordan is going to take a big bump up. So it's another guy who in the market last time we did the show last Tuesday was too underpriced. He's $3 right now. That's fine, right? We could even reload the market just to make sure that we're getting all the best prices. But yeah, I think DeAndre Jordan takes the biggest bump forward. It solidifies some things for like Bruce Brown's minutes in the rotation. You'll get more run in the rotation for a Noah Vonleh, which is not something I have all that much interest in. But yeah, you have some nice guys down there. You have Willie Cauley-Stein, who currently is selling as just hopefully not finishing in last place. Look, there's no Porzingis, no Kleber. I have Willie Cauley-Stein and Dwight Powell basically splitting those minutes at center tonight. Trying this for the first time, do you focus on one or multiple players? What's going on, my man? How you doing? Well, happy to hear that you're in here. Yeah, if anybody wants to try it out, totally free to download it. You want to use the code SAL20, you'll get an extra $20 in your account. I highly recommend it. This is the present and the future. You're colliding the stock market with sports and fantasy sports and betting. Oof, can't think of anything better. The Dollarooskies behind me is what you're going to be getting. So I like to get diversified, right? So normally, some slates, like for golf last week, I was only able to get Corey Connors. I actually was trying to get Max Homa. I was actually trying to get somebody else who I said in the chat, I can't remember. It might have been Finau. I was trying to get those guys, and it just didn't work out. And those guys finished literally 1-2. I don't think it was Finau. I think it might have been like Adam Scott or something. But yeah, those guys literally finished 1-2. So I like to diversify. I mean, it's up to you, but diversifying for me makes sense. So like right now, I have shares of Luka. Again, probably shouldn't be giving all the share information away, but I'm going to be going to some other guys that we were just talking about moments ago. But DeAndre Jordan now, they got nobody there left. Nobody, right? Jared Allen's not on that team. Kevin Durant and Jeff Green have been playing a lot of small ball center this year, and now they're both out tonight. There's nobody left on this team. Now, Nicholas Claxton did return to like the availability to finally play. Maybe he starts to break the starting rotation, but there's a lot of upside for DeAndre Jordan, who does look kind of like a little bit washed out there. I will give you that, but he's just going to have to, if he's forced into playing 32 minutes, DeAndre Jordan is still a fantasy point per minute producer, just like almost on rebounds alone at this point in his career. What's up, everybody? What's going on? Brian Beaver, how you doing, my man? Welcome into the chat. Yeah, all the people in the chat right now, even if you're just kind of hanging out in the chat, I see there's about 35 people live right now. Appreciate you all tuning in. Hope you're having a lovely Tuesday, National Dog Biscuit Day. Treat your dogs out there with a treat, right? How y'all doing out there? National Banana Bread Day. How you doing? Yeah, so any questions you have on Jock Market, the format in general of this stock exchange, how it works, maybe it's confusing to you just trying to come over from player props or something else that it's not the exact same correlation. I'm telling you right now, it's very simple to get the grasp of. You can play in free contests to try and do it. They have some nice tutorials on their YouTube and also in the app itself on the website. So any questions, let me know, but let's keep hunting value because the market closes in 17 minutes. It has to close, but it randomly closes in the last 5 minutes. So 12 to 17 minutes is where we're going to be getting the market to close tonight. So this is something that we're going to want to be monitoring the up top range. Some other guys in the mid range tonight. There's no Kyle Lowry ruled out yet again. So these guys in Toronto tonight, Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet. I have the slight edge right now to Pascal Siakam. I think they're both appropriately priced at this point. Both have obvious ceiling upside that's not being touched on. Favorite player to get under 6.5 says Aaron Edwards. So Aaron Edwards, let's give you the exact answer here. It's getting pretty crazy here. So is this stock daily or weekly and rises and falls as they perform? Yeah, it's rises and falls based on fantasy points compared to other people in the market. So if you have the number one fantasy scorer, you're all the way up to the top, you get $25 per share of that player. It is daily. If you're playing in golf, it's for the whole week. If you're playing in NFL, it's for that Sunday and that Monday night game, right? The Sunday full slate and the Monday night. But as of right now, it's daily. They might start adding weekly games. I don't know. I don't know that product side of it, but right now it's a daily buy-in. So you can be committed to them for one day. But in terms of the 6.5 range and below, we're getting down to the nitty gritty now. I'm going to have to start to track my phone. This is when it starts to get a really big sweat. Next week, when we, fingers crossed, should be having a co-host on the show, hopefully we'll be able to kind of bounce off of each other a little bit more, be a nice setup for the people in there, and also have a little bit of a sweat to the point where I can hope that we get all of our guys in, but we'll have another sweat here today. So guys that I like at 6.5 or below right now, I mean, Kawhi's about to cross it, so we really can't go there. Let's go down. I think that both these Toronto guys, they should probably get to that 6.5 number. That's probably where their fair value is right now. I have these guys as easy mid-40s in projections. So, I mean, both the Toronto guys, either Fred VanVleet or Siakam, have the ability to be the number one overall scorer. So, anytime they can get one of those guys, like, yes, it's not likely, but you're talking about these guys being 50, 60-point upside guys. That's definitely in there for sure. So, other guys that are down there, Lowry's not in the market, so don't be playing Lowry tonight, right? DeAndre Jordan, I just got some shares of him. I bury the lead on that one, right? So, outside of that, not much is standing out. Like, Kelly Oubre, now that Steph is in, he's fine. I think he's already appropriately priced. I think that Anthony Edwards is somebody that I've been hot on in a lot of other gaming modes, player props, DFS, things like that. Because Anthony Edwards has been playing 32, 33, 34 minutes. There hasn't been a D'Angelo Russell out there. He's shooting 15 times a game or so, and he's just been shooting 20%. This is a guy who doesn't even shoot that well, but he's still going to shoot 50% as an NBA player, right? Even on his average to bad nights. So I think there's sneaky upside for Anthony Edwards because we've only seen it one game in like the last 5 without D'Angelo Russell because in all the other games he shot poorly. Well, the one game where he actually shoots 50%, he goes off for like 40-plus fantasy points. So he's somebody down here that can pop off. Everybody else just kind of blends together. Brunson gets a slight bump with no Porzingis, right? Let me actually see. I'm actually very curious now that I'm bringing this up. Where is Mr. Tim Hardaway? Oh, we might find a guy. Let's go get some shares of Tim Hardaway Jr., fellas. Don't buy me out of these shares. He's $2.70 right now. Let's get some shares of Tim Hardaway Jr. because Tim Hardaway Jr., to me, I think you're going to see a lot more minutes here. Tim Hardaway Jr.'s projection spiked up for me by like almost 10 fantasy points once Kristoff was ruled out, once Kleber was ruled out, because that's when Hardaway was starting. So although Hardaway, maybe he doesn't look like a fantastic option most nights, that changes tonight. Now, Josh Richardson is still out there. You have Jalen Brunson still out there, but the minutes in general are going to spike up for Hardaway. You have Willie Cauley-Stein at just $1.25 right now. We might have to reload the market to make sure that this is okay, as now we're getting into potentially the final 10 minutes here. So you have these centers now that are actually going to be starting. Willie Cauley-Stein has 30-point upside. If he plays 22 to 24 minutes, he can get you 30 points rather easily. The top of the market right now, where I think that the value is in these pay-up guys, so we have some questions coming in. Centers have been smashing against Dallas. Tristan at $1.10. Just move up to $1.60. It's still cheap. Yeah, I think that's a fine option. The only problem with centers tonight from Boston is they've been getting a lot of minutes. Tyson in Tristan Thompson lately because they've been facing big teams, right? They're coming off of games facing a team recently like Atlanta with John Collins and Clint Capella. Tonight, there's no Porzingis. Like, you're going to be having a front court of James Johnson or Dorian Finney-Smith and Dwight Powell. So it's not a big team. So Thompson doesn't have to play 32 minutes now. They might honestly opt to play a little bit smaller. Jason Tatum at the 4, Daniel Tice at the 5, right? So that's where my concerns with Tristan Thompson's minutes start to come in. Hardaway is not starting. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, you would assume so, right? Because Jalen Brunson at the 2 and at the 3, you're going to have Josh Richardson still. The minutes for Hardaway, there's a potential that he could start, but now that he's not starting, it's still okay with me. But there's just the complete upside now that you get Jalen Brunson or Hardaway coming off the bench with even bigger minutes, right? Josh Richardson killed the Celtics when he was with Miami. He'll have more minutes. I like him. I think the minutes kind of stay consistent for Richardson, 32, 33, somewhere around there. I don't think you get anything major out of Josh Richardson's minutes changing or anything along those lines. But yeah, I would agree with you that Josh Richardson gets a little bit more solidifying of his shot attempts with no Porzingis. Maybe a rebounding rate does some sort of a spike. So I think that looks good. Dwight Powell is starting fade. I don't know who Collie Smith is, but Dorian Finney-Smith. So I don't want to play Dorian Finney-Smith in any formats in the jock market, anything like that. Dwight Powell starting was to be expected, in my opinion. So both of those guys, Dwight Powell and Willie Cauley-Stein, are going to look decent today. Let's reload the market one more time. No max here, KP, so Dallas has no inside defense. Yeah, of course. They're not. They're going to have nothing out there today, right? The problem is, though, how often do you actually have to keep big players in the court? It could be a Semi Ojeleye 24-minute night tonight because they just don't need Tristan Thompson out there as much. Like, the size is actually a detriment to them having that much size against a smaller team at this point, right? Early on, it's not going to matter as much, but if you're trying to get those 30-plus minutes out of them, that's where the concern can potentially come in for all you ladies and fellas and gentlemen out there. So the upload of the market right now, Luka's still underpriced. Luka's still $8.30 at this point. That is ridiculous. Like, this is a guy who is about to 3x for you, basically, if he ends up finishing first overall. So pretty crazy, in my opinion, that he's still that underpriced. We'll see if it ends up closing that much. Let me look into this on my end right now. So Dwight Powell, yes. So Dwight Powell starting, yes. I think that other options for you, like I'm very high on Russell Westbrook. The concern for the jock market power forward is that you lose points for a half a point for actually missing a basket. And Russell Westbrook is, he might shoot 30 times tonight and only make 14 shots, right? But he'll still get you a triple-double and still score you a lot of fantasy points. But on this format, the problem is that you're going to end up losing points for that. So that's where I'm a little bit hesitant on him. I think he's properly priced at this point. I think Kyrie Irving's properly priced. If we're looking for some more guys down here that have ceilings, yes, Westbrook would be one of them. I think that you're probably going to be able to get some value still in Enes Kanter. I think that you're probably still going to be able to get some value in a Pascal Siakam. Jamal Murray has been playing a lot better since all these guys have been out. You're seeing just more minutes potential going in there for Murray at this point. So I'm personally going to be looking into, right now as we're getting into the final 5 minutes or so, I'm personally going to be looking into what this price point is on Pascal Siakam. The live price point's about $550. I think there's a pretty big ceiling there as there's still no Kyle Lowry, so I might go scoop me a share or two of Mr. Pascal Siakam tonight. Let's see how many guys we can actually keep as these last 5 minutes come in. Is Perry in play? He's not going to be in the jock market, so not somebody that is going to be in play in really any formats. We also have Tyrese Halliburton. So Halliburton, we have Harrison Barnes is going to be in right now. Just ended up seeing that news. So that's going to knock Halliburton a little bit, the overall minutes upside there, but still a strong producer coming off of one of his better games, the rookie of the season. You're still getting a fantasy point per minute production. The surprising thing is that he's having like around a 25% assist percentage. So even when he's out there at Fox a lot, he's actually controlling the ball. He's controlling the assist rates. He's soaking in on those and cashing in on those assist rates. So Halliburton, I think at $379, a slight underprice, a slight value for you. And as you scroll back down the board, Draymond, although he's cheap, I can't get there. Looney's back. Wiseman is back. So the center minutes are gone. The upside at rebounds are gone. The assists are still there, but he wasn't even making any shot attempts or getting those attempts or cashing in on them earlier. So that's a concern. Michael Porter down here has some upside. All these guys seem to be appropriately priced. Michael Porter has upside. Jeff Green is now out, so obviously you're going to likely not want to play him. I think Will Barton still has a lot of upside. Will Barton at this point, again, he's coming off of that last game. People are going to see that fantasy performance and say, he didn't do anything. No, he checked out in the third quarter, and then his team went on two massive 8-0 runs. They were on like a 16-4 run in the fourth quarter, so they weren't going to check him back in. They weren't going to ruin the team's chemistry of this major run as they were trying to come back. So Will Barton for me is somebody else that I'm going to go and scoop a couple of shares of right now. So let's get ourselves a couple of shares of Will Barton, who obviously has massive upside because he can contribute from shooting, right? In general, the defensive end, the rebounding rate as well. Pascal, Brown, or Kanter right now if you had to pick one. Let's check the most current price point so I can give you the best answer possible. Aaron Edwards. So yeah, if you guys want to get in, the market's going to close anywhere between the next 4 and 9 minutes. And you can still not live trade. Yeah, you can still live trade after that, but you're not going to get the best prices. You're basically going to have to buy it off of somebody else. It's like the secondary market at that point, right? This is the IPO market, the initial public offering from the company themselves, jock market. But if you want to try it out, it's free. Down below, get in right now while you can. And if you can't get in tonight, tomorrow, whatever it might be, there's free contests you can play to win real money. So no stakes, and you can win $50, or you can actually put your own real money in it. Use the code SAL20. It's all linked down below. You can check it out. Any questions, just let me know. With Barnes back, does this kill Bagley and Holmes? Doesn't kill them at all, no. It just affects like the Daquan Jeffries, who in that last game played 40 minutes, right? It affects guys like Bielitsa's minutes off the bench. It might affect the ceiling of the minutes of a Tyrese Halliburton, but it's not going to affect Marvin Bagley. Maybe it knocks him a minute, but those guys are going to be playing a little bit more down low. Obviously, Barnes plays massive minutes, but it's basically just going to cut into the 40 minutes that Daquan Jeffries got last time and put him back on the bench playing 5, if not even in the rotation. So You asked me between the three options, Pascal, Brown, and Cantor at their current price points right now, they're all kind of trading at a similar range. You're having right now between Cantor, Pascal, and Brown. I think I would go to Cantor. I think that Pascal is a fine price point. I think that all these guys are buys. Like, I think you can buy every single player that we were just talking about, but I think that I would probably go to Pascal. Bruce Brown or Tim Hardaway. Tim Hardaway for me, even off the bench. The minutes are going to be a little bit more secure there, so I think you'll have some upside in Tim Hardaway. I'm going to try and go get some shares of Cantor. Even against Denver tonight, I still think he's a quality play for you. Cantor currently selling at around $6 per share. Let's get ourselves a couple of shares of Cantor tonight. Let's see if we can actually hold on to these orders. We're at crunch time, right? It's 7:23. Shares are going to lock between 7:25 and 7:30. So we're at crunch time at this point. Let's do one more reload, and we can kind of see the top of the board now, the guys that have the best opportunity to be the number one scorer. If you finish as the number one scorer, you get $25 per share. So if you're new here, if Jokic was to be the top scoring player tonight, he's currently selling at $12.50. You'll end up 2xing your money on that, right? Luka's only selling at $10.99. So you can potentially 2.5 times your money on Luka. Dame Lillard selling by less than $10. If Lillard puts up one of his 60, 70-point games tonight and he's number one, Dame time shows up, well, bam, you just ended up almost 2.8xing your money. There are some guys that can finish first overall, like a Steph, like a Russell Westbrook down here, like some of those Toronto guys we were talking about that can give you insane ROI, right? Guys that have these massive games that come out of nowhere. We see them sometimes from guys like Tobias Harris, Paul George at 650. If the minutes were there, the minutes are the concern for Paul George at 650. The minutes are like 32, I think I gave him. We need to see those 35, 36. We haven't gotten them since he's come back like we have out of his teammate Kawhi Leonard at this point. Trying to see if we have any like just dart throws down here that can really pop off. Chris Boucher can always pop off for you. The minutes are always kind of fluky with no Kyle Lowry out there. There's just more offensive production to go around. Chris Boucher at $3.02. I think that's slightly underpriced, so I'm going to go grab some shares of Chris Boucher right now. I'm really just looking for ceilings down in this price range, right? So the Chris Boucher price range, I'm looking for the ceilings. Chris Boucher, if he plays 28 to 30 minutes tonight, his ceiling is 50-something fantasy points, which can be a top 5, top 10 scorer at $3 per share. So that's what I'm looking for down here. What other ceilings are down here? Michael Porter to an extent, but there's some outs to his game that I would say, right? He's not a center like Chris Boucher would be, closer to the basket to get to that ceiling as often. He relies more on the mid-range jump shot, so not really something that I'm all that in favor of getting to. Thought $10.50 was good for Embiid. It was, but now it's $11.52, my man. So unless you're in the free market, but yeah, we're a minute away from potential locks. So be sure, once you get your shares tonight, be sure to let me know. We can talk through them. I can talk through my portfolio as I'm trying to secure some guys still. I don't actually know which players that I've been losing shares of, which ones that I still have. So the jock market, let's see, I just lost some shares of some guys. I'm going to try and get some shares of Mr. Luka Doncic right now. So I got some shares back of Luka Doncic. Let's see if that's in time. So $10.50 for Embiid, that's definitely fine. I mean, the latest that we have on it is $11.52. You almost have to update like every 10 seconds now in jock market because this is when the market starts to become crazy. Be sure to also tomorrow night check out the jock market with that Rick and Joe do for the PGA events. So Embiid's up to $11.52. Luka's up to $13 now, so he's actually approaching becoming maybe the second most expensive player in the market. Let's see what we currently have going on here. We're at $7.25, so the market is potentially going to be closing very soon. Let's see what happens with the price tags of guys like Enes Kanter. I still have some shares there. Mr. Pascal Siakam shares I have lost. So giving you a live feed of all this. Pascal Siakam is now getting to a price point where he's kind of expensive at this point. I'm still going to try and buy one more share of him and see what happens there. But you can see towards the top of the board, the current prices that I'm seeing on these guys, I still think Luka at $13 is your best investment. If he starts to get a little bit too high, people might start to sleep on like a Nikola Jokic, and he starts to become a better option for you. Luka Doncic continuing to go up in the price point here as he's now approaching $13.50. $13.50 is a pretty, I would say, steep price point for Luka at this point because now, I mean, you're starting to have to get Luka to finish as a top 3, top 4 overall play, which normally is easy, right? That's normally slim pickings for the guy who gets triple doubles. The fact that Porzingis is out gives you a little bit more security with that, but James Harden is on the slate. Joel Embiid is on the slate. Lillard is on the slate, right? All these guys are on the slate right now. We've been outbid for Mr. Luka Doncic, so Luka Doncic is definitely spiking up in the price point. The current market price on Luka is $14.50. Luka has now jumped to being the most expensive player in the jock market, and it appears that of all these guys up top, Damian Lillard is actually starting to become the guy who has some value on him as people are running over to Luka. I don't know if it's because people are watching the stream right now, but Damian Lillard at $10 flat, to me, is now the best overall pay-up option, if you will, for a guy who can finish first overall because of the value on that. So it's crazy how it just went from Luka to Damian Lillard in literally a matter of a minute. I'm sure there's people out there right now buying some shares of him that can force some other things, but you have these guys. Look how top-heavy it is, right? All these guys aren't going to finish first, second, or third, so somebody's going to be losing you money up here. Lillard at 10.5 gives you some sort of security to not have to finish top 3. You go down a little bit more into this next tier, and there's guys down here that can actually pop off for you, right? I prefer Lillard at his price point to Steph Curry and Westbrook right now, but if Westbrook stays this cheap, Very appealing. If you're looking for some other guys that are still going to offer some value in this mid-range, Enes Kanter is still offering a good amount of value right now. So Enes Kanter is somebody that I would go back in and look at this point. Lillard right now ended up just selling for $11, so we're having a little bit of a bidding war for Mr. Lillard here. Let's see if I can get any shares of Lillard real quickly. We'll see as the market is about to close. We have potentially 3 minutes left. We'll update one more time. We got the auctioneer. Somebody said last week that you talked like so fast. So you're finally finding the perfect thing for, these solo shows with the Jock Market closing bell. It's the auctioneers. The bidding is closed at 7:27. We ended up getting some shares of Damian Lillard. Let's see what we have all together. So the bidding has closed. When the bidding closes, and we'll recap it for the next half hour. When the bidding closes, you're going to get these columns to start to fill in. Will you do more videos with Nick? Says A+. Whenever Nick wants to do videos, I'm down. We did a video. So as these bids and asks come in, we'll wait a minute or so. We'll answer this question. But yeah, I did a video last night on Margarita Day. It was Monday. It's Margarita Monday, but also National Margarita Day. We did a video. We're drinking margaritas and we're just talking. We live streamed it. We're talking business, lifestyle, all this type of stuff, right? So it was pretty good. So anytime that Nick wants to do anything like that or just anything more consistent, I sent him. I mean, he's busy as heck this time of year, right? So, I mean, really a lot of us are. I can't even say that I'm not. I'm as busy as it gets. But prioritizing like a show potentially with Nick, because it seems like a lot of people like that type of, one, conversation, but two, just a dynamic. I think we relate on a lot of levels in terms of what we're doing right now. So, yeah, I would be down to do some sort of a show with Nick, so we can get through. Shoot him. I mean, I could DM him anytime, but the man's busy. I'm not gonna try and put another thing on his plate right now, even though I already tried to. So if you're looking at the Jock Market as it currently opens, you might be saying, "Oh my God, all my shares are negative." Whatever. That's fine. That's just based on the pre-draft rank stuff, right? So nobody's played games yet. You don't have to worry too much about that. So we've had the 7:00 games have now started. 7:30 games are now teeing off in 1 minute. So it's going to be something that's going to be interesting to watch. Let's see if there's any last-minute news that could have potentially affected those shares that we were getting last second. Korkmaz is starting for Seth Curry. Nothing out of the ordinary there is what I would say. Basically projected for that. The Mavs starting lineup has Powell at center and James Johnson at power forward. All right, seems fine to me. Dorian Finney-Smith at the 3. Seems fine to me. Richardson at the 2. So actually Brunson's coming off the bench with a Tim Hardaway, which is still okay. It's not going to really change much in a major way. So no injury news came out in that last 5 minutes. Korkmaz just starting for Seth Curry is a little bit too late. I mean, 4 minutes ago, you still have a minute or so. New to this, is there a golf show? Yeah, there'll be a golf show tomorrow night. I believe they go on at 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. I could be mistaken there, but it's going to be Rick Gaiman from the Rick Run Good channel. Rick Gaiman. And then it's going to be Joe, Tour Picks on Twitter. So yeah, what's going on? Fantasy 4th and 20. So as you see right here, the bid and the asks just filled in. So what does that mean, Sal? Bid means that people are trying to buy Giannis now for the cheap, right? So Giannis sold for $15, the most expensive player in the market it ended up being, and people are trying to buy him for $10.72. So nobody's gonna lowball, right? You get some lowball offers right here, and then you can see the guy who bought Giannis at $15 is like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna try and make a quick buck. I'm gonna sell him for $15.72. Maybe we could just make some free money. Maybe I bought 10 shares and I just make $10, just like that. We just bet on the margin, if you will, right? So that's the whole interesting part. Now, the secondary market of, look, most of the time you're not going to get what you want. You might overpay and it might pay off for you, but most of the time if you're selling a player, you're either underselling him or somebody is overpaying. That's the whole point of the second market, right? Unless you see something, unless you're paying attention to the games and you're like, oh, okay, this guy's in foul trouble. Like, I want to get him off my team, and maybe he's a good player. Maybe Giannis gets 2 fouls right away, and you're like, yo, I got to sell him because Giannis is going to lose 2 or 3 minutes maybe in this game now, and now he's not worth it anymore. Like, it's that small. So if you're actually paying attention to the game, that's when the live feature of this actually matters a lot more. I got 8 shares of James Harden at 15. Let's hope he gets first and second. Oh boy. So yeah, Harden was the co-leader in the market at $15 with Giannis. I didn't get any shares of Giannis or of Harden. It was nice to see that we got Luis in the chat. He ended up getting 8 shares at $15. So I'll let you know where I have Harden ranking out right now for me in terms of overall projection. I currently have it ranking 1 Giannis, 2 Harden. So there you go. And I have Giannis by about 1 more point than Harden. Siakam, Cat, Campazzo, and Noel. Ooh, I like the Noel pick there. I like the Noel. What'd you get Noel at? Let's see what he got Noel at. So Noel ended up selling for just $3.25. That's a good number. That's a good number for a guy who actually has a ceiling, hasn't had a lot of upside, just standing next to Julius Randle, who's having a career year. But Noel, that's a really good number on Noel. Campazzo as well. I like these cheaper guys that you're getting. $1.97 for Campazzo is very good. Still no Gary Harris. Still no PJ Dozier. They're giving Campazzo all the run over the rookie RJ Hampton. They're giving him similar run to Monty Morris these days. That's a very nice little pile you got there. So let's see. I'll talk through some of the shares that I have right now. I don't think that I can sadly show them on this. Yeah, I mean, I could show you the exact prices that I got them for. So let's go through it. So I got Damian Lillard to start it off. I ended up paying for Damian Lillard I believe $11.50. He ended up selling at $11.12. So what happens there if you overpay for it? You only pay for what the price was. So I ended up getting the rest of my money back. I tried to pay $11.50. So if somebody would have paid $11.20, it's still my shares, right? Maybe you get a partial share of him. But since he sold for only $11.12, they say, okay, you paid $11.50. We're not going to, you only needed to pay $11.12. We'll give you that back. So I paid $11.12 for Damian Lillard. I ended up getting 3 shares of him. I was trying to get 5 or 6 when he was $10, but it didn't work out. So we got 3 shares of Lillard, who I think has a lot of upside. Of all these studs up here, a guy who can potentially play 38, 40 minutes in a close game tonight. Massive upside for that price point, in my opinion. I think that all the guys up here are fair prices, right? I think they're all fair prices. I think Embiid is appropriately priced. I think that if anybody's slightly overpriced, maybe you can say that it's a Harden just because he still has Kyrie next to him who can, not half the time, but a decent chunk of the time, pull away when Luka doesn't have Porzingis, when Giannis doesn't have, really it's just Giannis in general, but doesn't have Jrue Holiday, right? You have Jokic with half his team out still. So I think that's an interesting spot. You have Lillard still with No McCollum and Nurkic. I'm trying to learn as I go with the free contest. Looks like I got some Luka at 730. Is that good? Yeah, 730 is great. Luka in this contest, he sold at 1450. So 730 in the free contest is amazing. I assume it's just a little bit softer, more people trying to practice, not knowing what the appropriate price might be. But 730 for Luka is fantastic. At that point, he probably has to finish for you like top 15 overall, and I have Luka right now as my number 4 overall scorer, so that's great. So my second guy, and I see somebody in the chat, JG. What's up, JG? How you doing? If you're still watching this right now, we do these every Tuesday night, maybe even more moving forward. And next week, we can't announce it yet because I think we have to just get all the details finalized. I'm not going to put any announcement out until we get them finalized, but we're going to have a co-host that I'm sure people in the industry know who the person is, and I'm sure people in the industry enjoy who the person is. I've done some collaborations in the past with him, so I'm excited for that. Kelly Oubre at $4.25 is fair. I don't think it's massively overpriced. I don't think it's massively underpriced. I think you paid a fair price for him right now. He's currently being asked in the market for like $550. So I think that's a little bit, I wouldn't pay that. I think that's a little bit steep. If there was no Steph Curry, that'd be massively underpriced, but you probably wouldn't have gotten that price. So I think that's fair. So let's see my second share of players now. So I got Damian Lillard, like I said, and then I got his teammate here. So Enes Kanter's somebody I've been high on as of late. There's been the last couple of games where Kanter gets pulled for blowout run. Yesterday, right? Front end of the back-to-back. Only plays 28 minutes, never steps on the court in the third quarter. Would have played like 32, 33, 34, but the blowout ensued, right? So that's the problem with Enes Kanter. Blowout run, there's a game in there where he shot 20%. That's an outlier for a guy who's shooting close to the basket in the 60% range. So I ended up getting shares of Kanter. So I have 5 holdings right now. I ended up getting 5 shares of Kanter at, I believe the share price ended up being $5.25. Yep, $5.25. I think that's really good. Kanter, it's undervalued compared to what his fair value was on projections. I currently have Kanter tonight. Even against Jokic, people might be saying, oh my God, against Jokic, who else are they going to put out there, right? Kanter, if anything, should be playing more against Jokic. He's a bigger body. He can actually move out of the paint a little bit. So Kanter I currently have for 36.8 fantasy points. I like that a good amount. Cool. Thanks, Al. No problem, Max. Louise says, good luck, everybody. Enjoy your day. Going to play with my son now. Yeah, enjoy your day. Best of luck on your shares, my man. That's the nice thing about Jock Market. You don't have to worry about like late swapping and things like that, like on some other sites. I appreciate all 42 people that are currently watching this still. So thank you. I appreciate you. Just hop into the chat, right? Even if you're just chilling out, relaxing, maxing, all cool. If you're a fellow creator out there and you're just hiding in the background, whatever it might be, hop into the chat. Any questions you have, any feedback you have on Jock Market, the whole concept, your exact exposures tonight. I like seeing that we saw a Strat in the chats, 247s, Siakam, Cat, Campazzo, Noel. I also got shares of Siakam, so that's a nice transition. I got 5 shares at Siakam. I think I overpaid for Siakam, sadly, but again, I still think he's okay. He sold for less than Fred VanVleet, which I think is a value there. Siakam's fair value price was $6.22. So let's actually see what Siakam's been doing in terms of his ROI lately. So Siakam, with no Kyle Lowry, yet again, complete 37 minutes, is going to average 1.11 fantasy points per minute this year when there's no Kyle Lowry on the court. But you're getting $6.88 is what I paid for him. I got 5 shares of Siakam, and then I got 2 more shares of other guys we can talk about in a second. But let's pull up Siakam right now. So this is Siakam's recent games right here. You can see Pascal Siakam. Recently, look, he ended up breaking even for you basically minus point 1, right? So basically broke even. On the 19th, he lost you 14%, but then he ended up gaining you 76%. That's the first game without Kyle Lowry. Gained you 29, gained you 11. This guy normally is underpriced in the marketplace. He was gaining 76%, a smaller slate, albeit at a $9 price, right? So now he was losing 14% at an $8 price, broke even at a $6 price. I feel good about this current price that I got Siakam at $688. I think I slightly maybe overpaid. I would have liked to get him at $650. It just wasn't going to be the case. I assume maybe talking on this channel about him a little bit, maybe spiked it up that extra 50 cents. Inflated it, but I think it's okay. Not on Jock Market as of right now, but love your content, Sal, says David. David, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Check it out, my man. There's a link down in the description. You can just play for free. Like, you don't even have to put your money into it. If you want to put your money in, you can use the code SAL20, SAL20, link down below to download it, and they'll give you $20 to play with. But you can just play for free. There's a free contest in there. It's a ton of fun. I believe in this concept a ton. I wouldn't be doing a specific show for it on this channel. I'd never do that, right, for any other sponsor or anything like that if I didn't think there was massive upside to this here format. We need a Jock Market tutorial. Yeah, I mean, maybe I could put one out, but there's some out there. So if you go to Jock Market's YouTube channel, there's some tutorials. If you go to their app itself, there's going to be some tutorials. I believe in the app, unless it's on the website. Let me see. I can look at the app right now before we get to my final exposures that I ended up getting to tonight. So how to play. Yep. You go into the app, you go over to the sidebar if you're in it right now, and you just click on how to play, and it'll take you to a website that has an overview. It's got a couple of examples in there. It's got some videos. So yeah, be sure to check that out as well. So that's the how to play page, and then their YouTube channel, Jock Market, will give more tutorials. I think that's their biggest thing, and that's why like creators like myself can help out. But their biggest thing is educating the population, right? Because once you start playing, it's addictive. Because if you think about it in a couple of ways, you have a nice sweat in DFS. Like if you're about to win money, or you need a guy to get a couple of baskets, steal here and there, right? For you to get to the cash line, or for you to win first, or you're in that top 10, right? You have a sweat before you even play on Jock Market, right? It's insane. It's a totally different environment. Like in golf, you have a sweat midway through. That's what makes golf so special. The cut line for a lot of events, not this week because it's a no-cut event, but a lot of the weeks is on Friday. So, man, you have that cut right on Friday. You get a sweat on Friday. You get a sweat every single day, technically, at the end of the day. You get a sweat on the end of the day for who wins the tournament and where you finish. Jock Market, you get a sweat tonight at 7:30, just trying to get your lineups in, right? Because it's a sweat to beat out other people trying to take your shares. React to injury news in the NBA. How does Seth Curry getting ruled out 25 minutes before the lock? I think the market closed at 7:27 tonight. 27 minutes before lock. How does that affect the slate? How does that affect guys who are starting in place of him, right? How does 5 minutes before the lock ends up happening, we find out that it's Korkmaz starting? How does that affect the market? Where's the values at? Things like that. It's crazy for the NBA, man. It's crazy. Any way to do private leagues on Jock Market? I'm actually not too sure about that. My guess would be no. Because they started at the beginning of the NFL season. So, or I think either beginning or midway through the NFL season. I believe it was the beginning. So they are a company that's growing. I would assume that like getting the contest up right now is their priority. The free contest, the main contest each week, each day for the NBA. And then private leagues and things like that, I think make more sense. Maybe it is a feature, right? I just haven't seen it yet. I think it makes more sense for like whatever their next integration is going to be. I'm not seeing any way to set up your own league right now. I'm sure that they could set one up like for me if we wanted to get some people into it for another night. But yeah, definitely be sure to check it out. Be sure to play around in there. And you know, if you don't like it, if it's not your thing, if the stock market's not your thing, if this type of thing is not your thing, that's fine. But you never know until you know, right? So let's look at some more of my shares. I appreciate everybody still on here. How's everybody's Tuesday? How's your Tuesday? How's your National Banana Bread Day going, huh? How you doing out there? How you doing? All 40-something of you in the chat right now. What do we still got? We got people still relaxing in the chat? Oh, yeah, we do. We got 45 people now, almost 50 people. How y'all doing? All right, so let's get into my final shares. So to just recap so far, my current shares, and hopefully nobody's injured in these first 9 minutes or foul trouble. Damian Lillard, Siakam, Cantor. We talked about those, right? My next two. Chris Boucher was, in my opinion, a massive value. I ended up getting 6 shares of Chris Boucher. I wish I would have locked in more, but he's the guy that I was trying to get more of, and then the market closed. I got Lillard, and then I tried to get more of him. Chris Boucher is $3.25. Okay. He's the 37th ranked player. Okay. I think that's fair. I think maybe he's slightly underpriced. I think maybe he should sell for $4. We've been seeing Boucher's minutes be large lately, right? You're getting Baines back into like the 16, 17, 18 minute range, and Boucher's back up into this mid-20s and upper 20s pretty often. Chris Boucher is one of the better fantasy point per minute producers in the league, like a 1.3 fantasy point per minute producer when he's on the court. And now there's no Kyle Lowry, right? So more shot attempts, more offense through him, not as many drives, not as many shots from far away, right? Those types of things. So I think Chris Boucher has a lot of upside. Good stuff, Sal. Checking it out now. Aspire Sports, how you doing, my man? Yeah, I appreciate that, my man. I appreciate that. I don't know if it was Aspire Sports. Somebody in the chat. No, it was another YouTube channel. It was telling me that they sent me an email, and I never got the email. But yeah, man. Definitely check it out. A+, if you're still in here, you're talking about the tutorial, you're talking about videos with Nick. Yeah, man. Those are some things that the tutorials are out there, and the videos with Nick are something that I can reach out to him when he's not as busy. I think he's really busy these next couple of days. But Chris Boucher is somebody who has a massive ceiling. 1.3 fantasy points per minute. It just comes down to what happens with his minutes. If the game blows out, he's like the first guy off the court, right? He can get into foul trouble. They're still somewhat reluctant to just give him these big minutes. But if he goes out there and plays 25, 30 minutes, I mean, Boucher can legitimately be the number one scorer. There is not a lot of guys down here. Ricky Rubio, no. Buddy Hield, unless he hits 10 threes, no. Gary Trent, never. Daniel Tice, never. Jalen Brunson off the bench, no. Harrison Barnes, maybe being limited today, no, right? These guys are never going to be the number one scorer. Never. Never. It's just never going to happen unless they have their career night. A guy like Chris Boucher has been the top scorer a couple of times earlier this year. This is a guy who is a prolific scorer, an insane fantasy scorer. So it was nice to get him. We got him at $3.24. We got 6 shares of him. The obvious downside is that he's somewhat boomer bust. He's kind of like a Jonas Valanciunas, except obviously less consistent because he's not starting and playing 30 minutes every game like Jonas Valanciunas, or 28 to 30. But they both average 1.3 fantasy points per minute. Their ceilings are massive. There's not that many guys that can defend them. But Yoval has burnt some people. Let's look at Chris Boucher's recent trends. I'd actually like to see all the way back to like the start of the year. I'm not sure if we can go all the way back that far. But Yeah, like look at Chris Boucher lately, right? This is Chris Boucher's recent trends, his return on investment. So if you played him recently, he is a volatility monster. Look at this guy. 60% ROI, great. Lose 72%. It's 30% you lose. You gain 63. You lose 70. You gain 26. You gain 112%, right? More than doubling your money. Then you lose 24. Then you lose 71. Then you lose 65, right? These are games. So like where he's losing all these, like 80%, 84%, these are games where you shouldn't have been playing him, right? People were paying $6 when he was at that point almost splitting minutes with a Aaron Baines. But we can go back even more. Let's look at the beginning of the season. Look at these numbers from Chris Boucher from the beginning of the year when he was just massively underpriced. Positive 73%, positive 63%, positive 93, 304%. This is one of those nights. He scores 46 fantasy points, right? He scores 45. He has that 45 fantasy point upside. He has that 50-point fantasy upside. So, yeah, I think Chris Boucher, we haven't seen it in a while because he's not getting the minutes like he did at the beginning of the year, but he's starting to as of late. And that's why you're seeing these other days of getting volatile now since February. He gains 112%. He gained 60 and 60%, right? You had this stretch where he was losing every single night down here, right? The minutes were wonky. He's losing every single night down here. Every night he's losing percentages in a major way. Now the minutes are starting to become a little bit patchier, if anything, getting more consistent than they were a couple weeks back. I think there's a lot of upside to guys like Chris Boucher. And it's really more so like I'm looking down at this price range. Okay, if he doesn't score great, maybe I lose a couple of percentages because now he's selling for cheap. These times when he's losing people a lot of money, he's selling for $650. You can't see all the way at the price point, but he's selling for right here. He's selling for $650 on other slates, $450, $530. Like we just got him for what, $3? So I think there's some upside there in guys like that, mainly because they're down the board and actually have ceiling upside. The final guy that I ended up getting some exposure to was a Mr. Will Barton, who I think has a decent amount of upside just from injuries out there. I think it was just a fair price that we got on Will Barton. We're already getting some money back on Chris Boucher, so that's good to see. Will Barton, we got 5 shares. We ended up getting him at a $3 per share cost, a very fair price if you ask me, myself, and I. So Will Barton, $3 per share. He's slightly under his fair value at $3.32. Let's see what Will Barton has been doing lately in the good old jockey market. So Barton right now, he's been decent. Like last game, yeah, when you get pulled and then you not even get pulled, your team goes on a run, a 16-5 run in the fourth quarter. You're not going to come back on the court. So he burned people. He played well, like on a point per minute basis. It's just he didn't get the minutes. So minus 14%, minus 12, minus 61, then a 74% burger, right? These are some things that I think Will Barton's slightly underpriced. Like when you're comparing his player props and things like that, I think he's slightly underpriced. In terms of trying to build more money, would you recommend low or higher end plays, says Aaron? I like a mix, but it depends on your bankroll. Like if you're starting with $10 in there, I would say go to lower end plays and get just more diversified. Starting with $100, you can maybe play around a little bit, but if guys like, Harden are selling for $15, the only really way that you want to capitalize on that is maybe if you can get like more than one share, but I would say it depends on your bankroll. If your bankroll's a little bit lower, then you go a little bit higher, right? If your bankroll's a little bit lower, you go a little bit higher in terms of your amount of players that you want to be getting exposure to. So I got exposure to like 5 guys. I currently have $126 in play tonight, and I currently 125.78. And I have exposure to 5 guys. I have exposure to Lillard up top, who's expensive, mid-range options like Pascal Siakam, and then some lower-ish range options like a Cantor, and then really low range like a Barton and Boucher. So I'm kind of all over the board personally, but I didn't go all the way up top tonight. I was trying to go to Luka, but Luka went from like a $10 per share player, right? So he was $10 per share, and then Luka popped up to being $14.50. I don't know if it was because we were talking about him, but all these guys ended up being expensive. So basically, these 4 guys here, people are going to be let down tonight. Giannis at $15 a share, Luka at $14. These 5 guys here, including Embiid, these guys have to finish in the top 2. And they all can't finish in the top 2. So it's a pretty risky bet to be placing it on these guys. It's tough. They're all premier players right now. They're all guys who average insane fantasy points per minute. There's no Porzingis for Luka, right? There's no KD for Harden. It's pretty interesting. Like, you have to finish top 2 to 3 to break even or not lose a lot of money. You have to basically finish second or first to win your guy money tonight. So if you were getting shares of more than 2 of these guys, it doesn't make any sense. You should have only gotten shares at most really of one of them. Logistically, 2 is the only thing you can do. Otherwise, you're automatically buying into a losing stock, if that makes sense. Because if you finish first, you get $25, right? So if you're starting to buy 2 of them, they're going to be countering and edging each other out of potentially finishing higher. Somebody said that Kyrie for 3. Hey, we're getting some fantasy scoring right now. I'll pull up DK Live. I'll pull up DK Live on my other side of things here. That's just a scoring, a live scoring for the NBA. We can start to look at some of the scoring that's coming in right now. Let's see what we have. Early games, some guys are playing really well. We see James Harden off to a nice start right now if people want to be tracking any of that. James Harden already with 9.2 points. Probably going to be rising a little bit. The rookie Lee from Detroit already has 14 fantasy points in 8 minutes. Oof. A full-on fade for me tonight. So let's look at some of these guys. Penn State's Lamar Stevens is playing well. So, yeah. Not bad. So those are my 5 portfolio plays right now. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Next week, we'll be doing this again, same time. Ideally, and it looks like it's going to be secured with a co-host. Hopefully, we can make that announcement sometime over the next couple of days. But yeah, it's going to be a daily show. And if it starts to pick up some steam, if you guys start to enjoy it, it starts to become something that you put into your schedules, the goal is to always keep it after those DraftKings, FanDuel, some of those other DFS sites locks so that you're not overwhelmed, right? You're not trying to lock lineups for 3 different things and you can't get to the market. I think it makes more sense for the NBA specifically to be doing it now, right? Like on the Jock Market show for a PGA tomorrow night. It locks tomorrow night at 9 p.m., not early in the morning when a lot of events start, or tomorrow afternoon, right? It's going to lock tonight. So it gives you some upside. Jock Market is fantastic. I encourage you to follow them over on Twitter. They've been doing a lot of cool stuff. Like they jinxed a better on losing. I don't know if it was for Tony Finau. I didn't read the whole tweet, but they jinxed somebody in the golf event, and they basically jinxed them. Right? They put out a tweet a little bit too early, and they ended up giving back anybody who had that money. They ended up paying them back their buy-ins. So it's pretty cool. So be sure to like and subscribe. If you have not already, try it out. You can't hurt if you want to try it out. You have some time on your hands. You like playing some different types of games. The golf events will be starting up. They have NBA Daily as well. They're going to potentially be adding, from what it sounds like, maybe some NHL, maybe some MLB as well. So lots of sports coming to Jock Market as it grows, being featured on Forbes, being featured on Yahoo Finance. Really cool stuff right now. So if you want to try it out for free, it's linked in the description below. If you want to try it out and get some money in there, might as well get an extra $20 for yourself. You could use the code SAL20. That is SAL20. So thank you all, ladies, gentlemen, fellas, for tuning in. Just kicking it back for over 50 minutes with me tonight. In terms of the content for Jock Market, next Tuesday we'll be back. In terms of my content, tomorrow morning we'll have an NBA video. Tomorrow night we'll have a live stream. And then the same stuff moving forward. We'll start to have the MMA and NASCAR content later in the week. Maybe some features and collabs starting next week with some other creators as well. Thank you for tuning in. Like, subscribe. Best of luck tonight. And get yourself some dollar rooskies, yo. Get yourself some dollar rooskies. Peace out, gang. Have a great rest of your night. Last question. Do you target players who stuff the stat sheet or just one-dimensional shooters like Duncan Robinson, new to the NBA scoring? Thanks. Yeah, man. Stuff the stat sheet. I hate the guys like Duncan Robinson. Don't hate them. I think Duncan Robinson's a good story. But it really comes down to the price, right? So I liked Luka a lot. He stuffs the stat sheet everywhere. Rebounds, assists, scoring. He leads his team in all those, even when Porzingis is out there, and now he's not. But it comes down to the price point. In the Jock Market, you can't be overpaying for guys because then you're shooting yourself in the foot. The second Luka went from $10 per share to $14.50, I was like, I'm out. Luka's has to finish top 2 for me to make money now, and there's too many good guys in the slate for me to want to go up there. There's too many other guys who can finish top 2. So I went down to Damian Lillard. So ideally stat stuffers, right? You don't want to just go for pure scores. But yeah, good point. Peace out, man. Peace out, everybody in here. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. See y'all in the next one. Enjoy the rest of your night. This was the Opening Bell, Episode 2, Season 1.